The unexplained takes many strange forms. It's every mystery that has not been solved, every question that has not been answered. Are ghosts real? Are we alone in the universe? What constitutes a micropenis? I'm asking for a friend. Charlie Clausen and Ben McClay are here to investigate. This is The Unexplained Explained.
Listen to The Unexplained Explained now, right here in the TOFOP feed.
A listener production.
The creators of this podcast would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which it is recorded. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are the first storytellers of this land. We pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, as well as any Indigenous people who may be listening today.
Everyone relax, this is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Wil Anderson. Hello and thank you for watching.
I know we don't like talking about footy on this show, but Two Guys One Cup is done for a little bit until the summer series, and I want to talk about my weekend in Melbourne, which involves the football.
Okay, so but people are hearing this a couple of weeks on from your
yeah.
Melbourne,
Like it's not
look,
it's not time sensitive or anything like that. It's just
no.
It's just.
By the way, Cam Rayner came 5th in the Brisbane Best and Fairest. I know we're fascinated by people will love this in the TOFOP episode. Us talking about Two Guys One Cup stuff. Anyway, well, I'll stop. But you can talk about your weekend in Melbourne that isn't time specific to football.
I just wanted to really actually ask you about your relationship with Melbourne, because I think. I always still view myself as like a Melbourne guy. Like, you know, I'm from Melbourne and I have Melbourne sensibilities and AFL and live music. And
people see me as a Melbourne person.
Right.
Like everyone always thinks that I live in Melbourne. They see me
Melbourne
as a Melbourne
energy.
person.
You have BME.
Yeah, I do have BME. But the truth of it is that I have lived in Melbourne. I moved there when I was 21, and I left there when I was 26. I moved back for 2 years in between. So
6 years.
6 or 7 years of my entire life I've lived in Melbourne. I've lived in Sydney for over 20 years. I lived in Canberra for 3 years.
No.
Right?
Oh,
I don't have a Sydney vibe at all, and yet I've lived in Sydney for most of the time.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was in the Northern Rivers, I had a bit of a Northern Rivers vibe. There's a bit of me, that fit in okay up there. People are like, yeah, we can see that. That's kind of, but I think that I definitely I identify as a Melbourne person, even though I am absolutely not a Melbourne person. And I wonder how much of that has to do with, well, for me, I know it has to do with the Melbourne Comedy Festival.
Yeah,
obviously,
right.
People associate Melbourne and the Melbourne Comedy Festival. It has to do with the fact that I mostly like to wear black clothes, which is something that people identify with Melbourne. And I think the third thing, the thing that you're going to talk about, is that we both love AFL football.
Yeah, but I don't think that is so I mean, is it tied to Melbourne when you think about Adelaide, Perth? They're AFL cities.
I know, but the AFL grew out of
Victoria.
The VFL. Like the fact that there is 2 teams in South Australia, 2 teams in Western Australia, 2 teams in Queensland, 2 teams in New South Wales, and then there is 10 teams in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Well, 1 in Geelong, but 9 in Melbourne and 1 in Geelong.
I guess it's more the vibe of it, right? Yeah, I agree. All those things that we have interest in, are Victorian institutions, Melbourne Comedy Festival, AFL, all that kind of stuff. But
the arts in general, bands,
let more of an intersection of classes. You tend to sort of, go to parties and meet people from a bigger cross section, the multiculturalism, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you went to an exclusive boys' school in Melbourne, but if you gone to an exclusive boys' school in Sydney, you would have
exclusively white men.
We would not be friends. Yeah. You wouldn't want to be friends with me, and I wouldn't want to be friends with you.
That's true. I mean, those guys do exist in Melbourne, but you're right. There's a bit more of a crossover. Yeah. I remember I couldn't wait to get to university purely for that reason of I need to get away from that private school bubble, and I want to meet girls for a start. I want to meet girls, but people used to think a little bit differently. But I remember Kevin Smith used to have this, I don't know if it's still in his bio, like his social media bio, where he'd say, body in California, under location, he'd write bodies in California, but mind or heart in Jersey. Okay, and I always thought that was kind of a pretentious thing to say, because it's like, well, come on, man. Like, you've lived in LA for close to 20 years now, probably more than half your life. But now I'm starting to think, like, in my location bio, it's like body in the Northern Rivers, but heart in Melbourne, because I love the idea of Melbourne, and every time I'm down, it always feels like special and stuff, but I know I couldn't live there again. Like, I just don't think I could live there. I think it's the weather is the number one issue for me now. I've gotten soft. I've gotten real soft.
No, I agree, because like I was in Melbourne also, and I was like having that same thing of going, all the things I like are here, but I do not like the weather. Yeah. And could you move this place closer to a beach?
Yeah. Can we take everyone up?
Like all the Melbourne things, but near a nice beach where the weather is good is basically what I want. So I guess the Gold Coast is because that's what Melbourne people normally do. Yeah. They move to Noosa or the Gold Coast, right?
Yeah.
So, but you need that. I want the sensibility. I want all the things that Melbourne brings to the table, because I've been recently like spending some time in Sydney, working, and I've been walking along the coast, Bondi to Coogee. That's been my regular sort of walk that I've been going on. And I love that walk, and I love that weather, and I love that vibe. But I look around the people who are there and think, I would never be friends with any of these people. And I know that most of my Sydney friends were people who went to Sydney from somewhere else. Like, the gang of people we used to hang out with when we all lived in Sydney were all people
90%
who moved from Melbourne, majority of. Yeah, a couple of, Sydney people who never felt like they'd fit in with Sydney and were looking for some
And
Melbourne
they were
friends.
always the ones who would sort of begrudgingly come to grand final day parties and stuff, pretend to go for the Swans.
This is the price we pay for the rest of this vibe that we quite enjoy. Yeah. And so, I don't know what that is, but I do agree with you. I totally have that as well, which is I love all that Melbourne has to offer. I just wish that it offered it somewhere other than Melbourne.
And it was actually very hot. So I've been down twice in the last 3 weeks. And the first time I went down, it was freezing cold, and it was very easy to distance myself from any affection for Melbourne, because I was just so miserable. Like, I'd forgotten when you live in Melbourne and when you live in a cold climate and you get used to it, like, it's kind of like being in an abusive relationship.
You're like, the weather's here.
This is
fine.
what I deserve.
It's nice. What are you talking about?
It's not so much that, but it's like you still complain about it, but you just don't think you deserve any better. You think this is the way. This is the way it is, and then.
But I also think you feel like it's the price of admission, right? For all the other wonders of Melbourne, the weather is the price of admission. Yeah,
it's a badge of honor. Like I told Jen this fact the other day, and she was not impressed at all. But one of my greatest achievements, Will, was I spent it in my final year of high school, because you had your summer uniform and your winter uniform. I wore my summer uniform all year round. Shorts, short sleeve shirt, thin blazer, wore it all year round. And I lived on the water, like on Port Phillip Bay. And so you get a frosty breeze blowing across like on a winter's morning. But for me, it was a point of pride that I'm going to be one of those guys who's going to wear his shorts all year round.
Yeah, I don't feel the cold.
I don't feel the cold. I'm too bloody cool. I'm too tough,
I've got impervious shins.
But there was the thing about Melbourne winters. You can tough it out. Like if I had to wear shorts all year round, I could. But now it's the opposite. Like, I cannot take the cold to the point where. You're talking about, I could retire, in Sydney or whatever. I need to be warm. I was in the Gold Coast last week, and I was sitting there going, I can see a lot of pluses here. Like, I can see a lot of positives. Not right now, but in the future, when I just want to, if I'm retired, if I ever get to a point where I can retire, Who knows?
On that sweet podcasting fortune that you will have.
Just the honeypot that we've amassed over 13 years of doing this podcast.
Rupert Murdoch is worth billions and didn't retire until he was 92. But I'm sure on our TOFOP fortune, we'll both be able to clock off at 65.
All right, let's be honest. When I finish working checkout at Future Coles or Future Woolworths, as I shuffle my old body over to the water, it's like it's easy to get around. Things are close together. Nothing's too challenging. And when Jeremy and I actually even went for a walk, we took Iona in the stroller and we went, around from Burleigh Heads round to Tallabudgera Lake. And it's such a beautiful little walk. And we were both kind of having that same thing of like, it wouldn't be so bad, would it? Like, once Iona's out, and hopefully, working or at university or whatever, we just downsize, we get a little apartment, and we just live on the Gold Coast and have that easy life. But then it's that thing of you look around at the people on the walk and it's like, but who would we talk to? I think we'd get very lonely. And this is not like...
Yeah, but this is like when you're talking about when Iona's an adult, right?
Yeah.
So like in 15 years, it's not going to be those same people. In 15 years, it's going to be a generation of people that you hang out with in the Northern Rivers who've decided to move up to the Gold Coast.
Because their kids have moved out of home or whatever and they're downsizing.
In the same way as the Northern Rivers is full of the people you used to hang out with in Sydney.
That's true, right? We're just all migrating.
Up to the Northern Rivers. It'll just be like a slow procession up to warmer and warmer weather.
I mean, there are so many fit people on the Gold Coast. I imagine Sydney, that Bondi to Bonty walk would be the same. But the amount of abs and...
There's a new sort of fitness too. There's that real muscly,
jack,
like super fitness.
Yeah.
Like, where everyone looks like a professional. Well, everyone looks like fitter than if you looked at photos of professional athletes from 20 years ago.
Yeah, in the Olympics.
90% of people at the beach now look fitter than anyone who competed at the Olympics 20 years ago.
I mean, people who used to actually work the land, every day to stay alive didn't look like the bodies that people have now. And like I'm turning into such a voyeur. I can't stop staring because the bodies are incredible. Like some of them, not just in like a pleasing way, but just in more of a fascination. Like these two girls walked past and they had that Kardashian butt. And I guess they must be personal trainers or something because they were taking it in turns to pose on the foreshore, and while one of them would take a photo of the butt, they'd take like multiple photos of their butts, and they'd do like bodybuilding type poses and stuff. But the angle of the butt was like
influencers. They could be influencers.
Or influencers. It's like, well, their butt was their business is the sense that I got because the way they were dressed, the way...
There's big bucks in butts.
Huh?
Big bucks in butts.
There's totally big bucks in butts. But the butts were like... They came out at this angle where it was almost like a shelf. It was almost like having a couple of cushions on the back. They were almost square, like two shoe boxes, not like round like you see buttocks. And I said,
well, that's the new thing though, isn't it?
Well, are they implants or can you physically get your buttocks to look like shoe boxes?
I don't know. Like as an arseless man, like most of what should be on my ass is on my love handles.
Yeah.
Like if I could get the back fat that I have to just like slide down to my butt, my body would be in much better proportion than it actually is.
You'd be so bootylicious. I don't think I'm ready for your jelly, Will. That's what I'm saying.
My jelly is floating on top when it should be down the bottom. Like I'm a bit like a trifle.
You actually got me thinking about bat fat because you mentioned it last week as well when I said there was that photo of Iona standing on me when I'm on the beach and she's just pushing my love handles out. And now I've really been looking at it like I've been doing that coquettish look over my shoulder to see, oh my God, it's like Will's right. Like there's heaps of fat just around there. There's got to be a way we can do something about that, right? Which is not like exercise and diet.
Well, I reckon they're going to be, if I Google how do I get rid of back fat, there are going to be 3 answers that come up, I reckon.
Well,
exercise, diet, and surgery.
It's funny you should say that though, because we were talking about the Liver King at the start of the year, and I distinctly remember in those leaked emails of the Liver King was sending to his doctor when he was getting his steroid prescription and stuff, one of the areas he kept complaining about was back fat. Like he was saying to the doctor, like, no matter what I do, the back fat is killing me. I'm 43 years old. I work out 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, but I just can't get rid of this back fat. I don't want to have to get surgery, blah, 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 blah. So Liver King, who's eating nuts and shit and taking steroids and stuff, he's getting back fat. What hope do you and I have?
Well, I just think we've got to embrace the back fat.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
make it sexy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's already called love handles, right?
Yeah, but that's patronizing.
Okay, do you feel like it is?
Oh, yeah. Like, name me one girl who's ever said, let me grab you by your love handles, baby.
Emma. I don't know.
Leave her out of this.
Here we go. Losing overall body fat. Okay, so what are the best ways to do it? Let's play it Family Feud style. So,
Okay.
What do you think the number one way to get rid of back fat is, according to this?
Specifically back fat. Diet.
Ding, 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 ding. Correct answer. Diet is the number one way. What is the second top answer?
Is it a type of exercise?
Well, it's exercise.
Okay,
so I'll take exercise.
Okay, great. I'm on a roll.
Yep. And then
Is there a third method?
Yeah, there's a range of then it's like literally the range of exercises. So do you want okay, here we go. From women's health, let's go to women's health. This feels good to me. Let's go to women's health. Let's make this an inclusive podcast. So here we go. Wondering how to get rid of back fat? You're not alone. An average of 2.9 thousand people search for back fat exercises every month.
I'm sorry, hang on. 2.9 thousand what?
Yeah, 2.9 thousand it says.
A day?
So
according to, how are they measuring that?
I don't know. Which is why we've decided it's high time for an honest and open chat about the topic. Thank God. Me too. So is TOFOP. We're going to have an honest and open conversation about.
Yeah, let's hold. There's no holds barred.
Exactly.
Don't go easy on me.
First things first, Charlie.
Yeah.
If you're struggling with excess back fat, chances are it's a totally natural and common issue. But back fat could also be associated with insulin resistance, high testosterone, and low carbohydrate tolerance, as well as an increased risk of diabetes, PCOS, and infertility. So, I mean, this one might be more specifically for women, but
yeah, maybe this inclusivity is just
okay.
Ruin the segment.
I'm gonna, I'll go back. I'll find one for men. How to get rid of back fat for men. Here we go. All right, let's see if we can go to muscle and fitness. 11 reasons why you can't lose your back fat. This is more a bloke's one, isn't it?
Go.
Okay, 11 reasons why you weak
I feel like
idiot.
we need an air horn coming in.
Yeah. Shredding.
Oh, God.
No, shedding stubborn back fat can be frustrating, especially since you can't spot reduce, no matter what those internet influencers tell you. There you go. The appearance of back fat most commonly results from a combination of several things, including atrophy of the muscles of the back and excess body fat. So what causes back fat and how can you lose back fat?
Okay.
First off, atrophy of the back muscles. That basically means they've lost their strength and muscle tone, which is poor nutrition and a lack of targeted exercises, which is resistance training, right? Okay. So a muffin top is the other term that they will often use for.
Ah, yes.
So here we go. To burn calories and body fat efficiently, you're going to have to incorporate a workout regimen that involves back exercises. Resistance training that includes machines, dumbbells, or even body weight exercises. Your cardio's weak. These are your 11 reasons. You're not using resistance training, your cardio's weak.
Right. Fucking cardio.
Your cardio
Toughen
is
up.
bloody weak.
Drink
If
some-
you want to get rid of that stubborn back fat, you're going to have to increase the duration, time, and intensity of your cardio. It doesn't matter what cardio option you choose, just make sure the overall goal is burning body fat.
How do you make sure that's the overall goal?
I don't know. Dietary sabotage.
These are all my favorite things. I love a bit of diet sabotage.
Doesn't take much to sabotage your hard work in the gym, Charlie. The first way to do it is by eating poorly. Burning fat and getting a lean, sculpted back is going to take discipline.
No.
And a structured eating plan of healthy proteins and fats and nutritious carbohydrates daily. I mean, it seems.
What about
like
Anzac
a lot
biscuits?
Yeah.
Have they been to my bakery? Because they make the best giant Anzac biscuits you'll ever bloody eat. They're 90% golden syrup. They're so good.
I mean, how can the syrup be bad for you if it's golden
Exactly.
syrup, right? Too much booze.
Oh, yeah.
Are you drinking too much booze? Because that's one of the reasons.
I have been drinking more than normal lately because it's been like grand final and finals and bit of footy stuff. So
now your back, Charlie, is made up of 4 main muscles.
Yep.
The upper consists of the rhomboids and the trapezius.
Yeah.
The middle is latissimus dorsi.
The lats, mate.
And the lower is the erector spinae.
Oh, yeah. That's what I call my penis.
So,
The erector.
I mean, that might be the problem. Is your back fat, but your penis is really hard? You're doing too much work on your erector spinae. You're not fueling up. You're probably doing that. You're stressed. Are you stressed, Charlie?
A little bit, same stress as no more than anyone else. And, when.
Because your stress hormones slow down your body's ability to burn fat. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health.
Okay. Well, that explains it. I'm blaming my back fat on interest rates.
Charlie? Are you resting enough? Your body needs time to rest. You're worn down. More than likely, you won't be able to get a good workout in and can even risk getting injured. Are you getting a good 6 to 8 hours of sleep per night?
I don't know that this seems far away from, if you're saying specifically, how do I treat back fat? Don't tell me to get a good night's sleep, because if I could burn fat sleeping, great. But what you're saying is get a good night's sleep so that you can go to the gym and fucking do an hour of cardio and then lift weights.
I mean, I think there was only one thing and they've stretched it out to 11 because I've read the rest of them and they're pretty much following that format, to be honest.
All these like secondary. I found that quote from the Liver King. So this is what he was writing to his doctor when he was trying to get some more HGH. He said, I've been working out for 35 years. I know how to eat, train, rest and recover. I even have a hard shell hyperbaric chamber at my house. But as I've reached my mid-40s, it's getting harder. You know what is the worst? Is that the back fat is fucking killing me.
Mm-hmm. I just think be comfortable with your back fat. Honestly, like I know that you're talking about, what example you are as a father. Your example, you want to be fit, but you also want to give Iona the example that you should be comfortable with your body, whatever shape it is, and that you should love yourself. And if it is one of these things, back fat, that is almost impossible even for people who are doing these bananas workouts to get rid of, then surely the lesson in that is that don't worry about it. It's just one of those natural things that is going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, look, I could definitely clean up my act a little bit. I have been enjoying eating whatever I like lately.
But also, isn't that part of life? Like,
100%.
how much do you want to?
Well, I keep saying to Jem, like, I don't have, like, generally I will get fit if I know I have to be on TV or something like that. I want to look my best to be on TV, but I don't have anything coming up. And so it's like, well, I'm just in hibernation. I'm in sleep
But
mode.
it's not like you've, like you're still going to the gym regularly and like exercising and doing all these things. Like you're still probably fitter than most people are, right?
Yeah.
So,
you know what I miss though is the older you get, the less. Like exercise used to be, sport as a kid, if you were a sporty kid, or it didn't have to be sporty, if you just liked playing sport as a kid, but, didn't have to be good at it. That was like half your activity, like kicking a footy with a mate, going to the beach.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Hours at a time.
Hours at a time. And I feel like, I know there are adults who do make time to go rock climbing on the weekend and stuff like that, but I just don't feel like if I could just incorporate more of that into my day-to-day life, like if I could have, is there
an
a
hour
job
and a half during the day where you could pop down the park and kick the footy around?
Yeah, or climb a tree. Like, are there any jobs that require me to kick a footy 3 days a week or climb a tree? Like some fun, just kind of exploration type stuff that's work related. I mean, I guess I remember talking to a mate who was contemplating, he worked in the arts, he was a performer, but work had dried up. He was feeling a bit disillusioned. He's like, I think I'm going to become a firefighter, because I'm very active, I'm very physical, and I like the idea of just, working with my body, and learning some skills like that, but not having to kind of he'd been cerebral for 20 years and was looking to and that I understand Like if I fantasize about like alternate careers or things that I could be doing or things that, I might have to end up doing if interest rates keep going up like this, Will. I don't know if you noticed, but it's fucking getting very hard to keep a roof over my head. Like I think like gardening, for instance, I love being in the garden. I don't have any expertise or anything like that, but I feel like, the actual process of being out in the garden and digging things and laying things and carrying things. Like I feel like my DNA, my genetic disposition is to pick and lift and carry things around. Like I have a laborer's body.
Well, I mean, I think that gardening could definitely be something that, like, I mean, it's outdoors, it's physical, like, you
kept fit keeping your farm. Well, not your farm, your big property.
Yeah, no, it's true. There's like, I mean, and it's fun way to keep fit because you're just doing stuff and you're outdoors and you're in nature and you're tending for nature. And like, I mean, it is actually a very fun way to like have and you do tend to work out your entire body doing.
Did you ever like come across like snakes though? How many snake encounters did you have? Because you had like a lot of areas for snakes to live in.
I mean, saw snakes, yeah, sure. But Charlie, they're more afraid of you than you are of them.
Yeah, I'm getting more afraid of them. I didn't used to have a snake.
I mean, that is also a lie. They are not afraid of you in any way.
The Browns are, definitely.
They don't give a fuck about you.
As the last guy, a snake catcher who came around here said is like, if you have Browns, you know about it because they just don't give a shit. They're territorial and they'll hang out in the same spot. This is my corner. You fuck off. Like I'm not going anywhere. I mean, knock on wood, I haven't seen one on the property. You've had like a red belly and a couple of pythons.
Well, hopefully you just have one and it's an old one that keeps to itself because what the old ones tend to do is just they keep all the young ones away and they just they get used to your patterns and they just hang out where they are and it doesn't become an issue.
Well, yeah, that's pythons apparently do the same thing. We've got water dragons as well. And they're good because, again, territorial. They like to eat snake eggs. That's what they do. They fossick for snake eggs. So I've got a few of those. I did see a motherfucking unbelled cat in my front yard the other day eating a baby water dragon. I was so pissed off. I don't know whose neighbor it was or whatever. But
I saw an urban fox.
What?
In the city.
Really?
The other night. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was driving home and I was like, oh, my God, that's like a fox, like
fox
a proper
in the city.
Fox in the city. And it turns out like urban foxes are, because I came home and then immediately Googled whether like this was the end of days because I'd seen this urban fox just rolling around the
driving along
neighborhood.
like Oxford Street, you see a stag standing in the middle of the road. It definitely signals something is afoot.
I mean, that probably is a term in the gay community, right? Yeah. Like there's bears and otters, a stag, right?
In swinging, in swinging, I believe a bull is a big strapping stud that you bring into your threesome.
Yeah.
Like when you and your wife go to the bar and say, "Hey, we've been watching you. We really dig your vibe." I think it's a bull. Is a third.
Here we go. Urban Dictionary, stag. The male half of a relationship who allows and finds sexual gratification in allowing and even encouraging his female partner to have sex with other men.
Isn't that cuck?
Not to be confused with cuckold relationship. It's funny you asked that, Charlie. Seems you might not be the only person who asked this because this is not to be confused with a cuckold relationship where the male is typically weakened into humiliation. Stags are dominant but want to share their women.
Fuck my wife. Yeah. Is that what it is?
I guess so.
As opposed to, please don't fuck my wife. It's like, fuck my wife. Oh, I love it. But I reckon if you're a cuck, there's a real easy way to fucking spin the situation because the same thing's happening. It's about a mindset.
Maybe.
Next time someone's fucking your wife, like, I actually love this. This is what I want.
I'm a cuck, but I aspire to be a stag.
Like, the only way to stag, though, I imagine every stag has started a cuck, right?
It's all how you see yourself, right? Because, like you said, the circumstance is still the same. It's someone else having sex with your wife. It's just whether you're
cool with it or not.
Humiliated by it or cool with it.
I mean, it does feel like a natural progression. Like, you might go into a I mean, I imagine there's definitely like it's a kink for some people, the cucking,
Yeah,
right?
of
Like,
course.
you know.
Well, I mean, it's all a kink, and
Yeah.
I'm not here to kink shame
No, not
anybody's
at all.
kink. Like,
But I imagine then if it like there'd be some cucks where it's not you're an unwilling cuck, like you're literally getting cucked.
I mean, that doesn't feel like. I don't think there'd be a lot of unwilling cucks.
Well, no,
right?
but I imagine people get talked into threesomes and stuff like that. They're maybe not unwilling, but
Sure.
less enthused. Happy to do it for that because they love their partner.
Yeah.
But but I imagine there would be some kind of point where, like, if you were a consensual but less enthused cuck, that there is a moment where you can sort of be like, all right. I mean, if this is going to continue, like clearly my partner's, when I'm looking
I'm
at
going to
it,
embrace it.
She's having
it's just how I look at it, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
But then if your partner's like, no, I don't
No.
like it when you like it. I like to see you upset.
The thing that my kink is
Yes.
you being ashamed and humiliated by this. You enjoying it and being into it has taken away all the joy I get
couldn't
out of it. Right?
Because you were there,
'Cause you
strutting around
loved
with
it.
your hands on your hips.
Yes, do it more.
Yeah, I love it.
You spoiled this for me now.
I mean, what a devil's bargain
Yeah,
you suddenly
I
caught in.
know.
You've got to find a way
Wow.
for you to both be supportive in that situation.
I mean, because it is. But I mean, I think they are really different things, right? Because like all things, that's what we're talking about here is like a power dynamic. Part of it is about whatever the dynamic is in the power relationship of those things. Because it's not about like when you talk about stagging or cucking or whatever, that's different to like, as you said, like a threesome in which it might just be about, hey, everyone's in this together. Like we're a team.
Yeah.
Like, like we're all
33.3% mathematically. Is that much we own of this experience?
Yeah, exactly. We're all equal partners in what is going on right here. Whereas like both stags and cucks, it's more like the idea of like there's two people who are doing the thing and then there's one person who's in the corner either hating it or loving it.
Yeah, exactly. One thing you've bought a ticket for because you love it. The other one you've been dragged to.
Yeah.
It's like, because they're both performance, really. It's a voyeurism thing, right? It's like.
And by the way, the cucking, like people who like to, because I mean, my understanding at the very least is that it's not like there are people who enjoy the humiliation of being cucked. Like they want to be
that's part of the
humiliated.
role-playing.
Like it's not just the kink of the person who's cucking them, but it's their kink of being the person who's humiliated by it, like them being a stag.
Yeah.
You say, turn that frown upside down, like, well, let's give this a positive spin, would take away the joy they were getting from it as well, because it's not about, even though they are actually into it, part of the play of it is that they're not into it or that they're humiliated by it or whatever.
Yeah, that's when you need your clearly delineated lines about like, because at some point it's like, oh, my husband's crying. No, like that's good.
No.
They're good tears. I'm enjoying
He's
this.
into it, but he's not going to
show that he's
not a
he's going to
stag,
role
he's
play.
a cuck. So he's going to be humiliated, but that's actually empowers him because that's what he. Yeah, I mean, it is sexuality. What a complicated.
What
thing
is
it is
cuck derived from? Is it have anything to do with chickens?
cuck cold? Well, cuck cold.
Yeah,
I mean,
cuckold. What does that mean?
Out. In biology, a cuckold is the husband of an adulterous wife. The wife of an adulterous husband. Oh, here we go. Is a cuck queen.
Ah,
you go, cuck queen. Go off, cuck queen. Yes, cuck queen. In biology, a cuckold. Yeah, here we go. In biology, a cuckold is a male who unwittingly invests parental effort in juveniles who are not genetically his offspring.
Ah,
there you go.
So
here we go. The word cuckold derives from the cuckoo bird, or the cuckoo bird, as we would say, alluding to its habit of laying eggs in other birds' nests.
Yeah, right. Oh my God.
Yeah,
imagine if your kink stretched as far as you combine like a bit of fairyism with your cuckolding. So everyone has to be dressed like birds. And so you hire a stag. No, not a stag. You hire a bull. Yeah. But confusingly, just turned a bull, but to dress as a cuckoo. Cuckoo. Sorry. Not hire. What are you going to hire?
We call them cuckoos, even though it's spelled cuckoo, but we call them cucks, not cooks, because that could actually get really confusing.
Yeah, you get a bull to be just as a cuckoo bird to have sex with your wife in that way. And then, or rather than it just being like a one-off, because the full extension of the metaphor is you're going to raise his child. So you have to impregnate my partner dressed as a cuckoo bird.
Yeah.
And I'm going to raise this child. And that's going
that'd be great
be a
if you had-
lifelong kink.
If you're at some fetish club and you were just like, oh yeah, my husband's like a cuck, and he's like, oh, that's great, I'm going to get to fuck your wife, and he's like, no, he wants to raise your children.
It comes a lot creepier.
He'll be around tomorrow to pick him up. He's got a van. Wow, very educational.
I saw a movie on Friday.
At
Creator.
the movies, at the cinema.
Yes. Have you heard of this film, Creator?
Yeah, it's by one of the dudes who did the guy who did Rogue One.
Exactly.
Rouge One, as the internet used to call it. And what I know about this movie is it is about AI, and I know that it was made for only $80 million, and he shot a lot of it realistically.
Yes.
And then they added the CGI on later rather than creating it all on green screen or blue screen. And that is all I know about this movie. And I'd like to plug the Weekly Planet podcast if people would like to listen to that, which is where I get most of my information about popular culture.
Have they done an episode on it?
They did the most recent episode was about it.
I'm going to listen to it because I went into this movie completely blind. Like I took one of these moments of being
drunk. You mean you had a bottle of vodka?
I was in Melbourne alone. It's like, oh, I can see a movie and don't have to worry about anything else. And so I was scrambling to find whatever was showing. And this thing, Creator. It's a film about AI, but not in any serious sense. Like it's just a movie about robots, essentially. But there's some things about the film that they've gone for this kind of quality where they're making a classic 80s Vietnam movie, like a Platoon or Full Metal Jacket, with Miss Saigon, the idea of a soldier having fathered a child from the other side, in this case, the AI, the robots. And I won't go to spoilers, but he has a robot child that he needs to protect, as this war between humans and AI wages on.
Was he cucked by a robot?
And the robot was Dexter from A Perfect Match.
Oh, man, what a great movie
I want you to fuck my wife. Data says compatible. Yeah, Perfect Match was a game show in the 80s in Australia where
the original AI. There was the original robot.
That's where Dexter, the love robot, where people would, compete to date with one another. And they had this fucking cheap-ass robot called Dexter who would spit out their compatibility rating.
Yeah. It was like Peaches and Cream, a coach and a team, a guy and a girl.
It's like a guy and a girl and a...
It's like Peaches and Cream. A coach and a team.
Like an oyster and a pearl and a guy and a girl.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
It's like a cuck and a bull. Someone's going to get full of my cum. But it didn't work. It didn't work for me because I think the two genres he was trying to merge, which is kind of like Blade Runner meets Platoon. What's the word?
We missed a line of the song, by the way.
Oh, what was it?
Which was
do the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. Hang on. I thought that I'd brought up the lyrics to the theme song. Here we go. Like Peaches and Cream. Yeah. A coach and her team.
Yeah.
Like sand and the seas.
An ocean breeze. No. Oh,
the birds and the bees. Like an oyster and a pearl, a guy and a girl. What do you got? You got a perfect match. There you go.
Hosted by Greg Evans. Oh, I got it. I found Dexter. Hang on. I can share this with you.
Compatibility, here's Dexter.
Oh, my God.
Compatibility score of 71% is Colin Donald.
is horrifying, isn't it? Do you
Terrifying.
want to say it again?
Yes, 100%.
Here's
It's the sailor's hat with SS Perfect on it that really caught my eye initially. And then there's like a fishbowl head with some sort of like square robot style. I mean, did Dexter always have the sailor's hat on, or did Dexter wear a different hat on different shows?
All right, there's another Dexter clip. Let's take a look at this.
Oh, no, Dexter's got like a...
an old
there we
hen
go.
tries the love game. What nationality are you, Randy?
I'm from Wales.
There's now a female robot.
Romance.
And there's a robot out there somewhere called him, but I don't know if it's me.
Perfect match tonight. 5:30 on 10.
What past is
Okay.
entertainment?
Well, Dexter was wearing a fedora in that one, which I think... and then there was another robot with like a wig, and they
It's
were...
his girlfriend. They were at the beach together.
I mean, what is a robot doing at the beach for a start?
Here's an ad for a perfect match. Let's just watch
Okay,
this and see if
alright.
we can glean any more. Dexter's wearing a top hat in this one now.
Yeah, okay, good.
5:30 weekdays. Be part of the fun on 10's hilarious new series, Perfect Match.
None of that.
Craig Evans, Debbie Newsom, and Dexter, the romantic robot, lead the girls and guys on a fresh, funny, hop, and embarrassing search for the perfect mates.
This is a hard one.
There's loads of laughs and great prizes along the way.
You're off to Bali.
It's intriguing. It's cheeky. Sometimes it's very cheeky. Perfect Match every weekday at 5:30 on 10.
Wow.
Wow. Oh
Wow,
my
wow.
God. Like Dexter was wearing a top hat in that one, which was very formal for Dexter, the romantic robot.
So it was back in the day too, where like in the era of Electric Dreams and the movie Short Circuit and stuff, where people like you could conflate robots with having supernatural powers.
Yes,
as well.
exactly. And this one could come up with the compatibility of people for dates. So, so this movie's based on Dexter the robot from Perfect Match?
100%. Dexter the robot is the father of the child. No, it's not based on. It's one of those films too where it's not based on any single IP. Because I was talking with Foz about it earlier, and I was saying it reminded me of this comic book called Descender, which is all about AI and robots and stuff. But it feels like all these different films without ever being its own thing. So it's like Platoon, but it's like Blade Runner. It's like Akira. It's got all these influences. And
It's original in the way that none of it's particularly original, but they've taken a whole bunch of different things and put them in a blender together and come up with an original story.
but that's what I was going to say to you, right? So it sort of left me a bit cold. I thought it looked, and I know you love this in the movie, Will. It looked amazing. It looked
I
beautiful.
will never see it. Didn't have much of a plot, but it looked amazing. Oh, great. Well, good luck with that.
The visual effects are astounding. It was shot by Greg Fraser, who won an Oscar for Dune. So it all looks incredible. But then I started thinking about like, oh man, like I felt so bummed out because it's so hard to get original IP on a movie screen, and you really want them to do well so that the studios will then keep making more. But then I was like, but I guess if I think about all the films in the 80s, which was the golden era, apparently, of genre filmmaking, like Star Wars is just like the Seven Samurai or Attack on the Hidden Fortress or whatever it is, remixed. Indiana Jones is every like matinee. Like there would have been people our age in the late 70s, early 80s when kids are losing their minds over these films going, hey, we've seen this all before, right? Isn't that just what's happening?
Yeah. No, I think you are right to a certain extent that like, I mean, there's only 7 stories or whatever it is, and like they're all some version of each thing. So,
but the influence, the pop culture influences that inspired,
I think that we
filmmakers
can
in the
see them
70s
all
and 80s.
more easily, right? Like you can actually go and then see those movies. But it's sometimes hard then when you go back and watch something like a classic movie that you hadn't seen before, and you're like, oh, it feels like I've seen this movie before because everybody has ripped off that movie since then. And often the original one isn't as good as the ones that have copied it because like they have slightly improved on it. And so I understand why there are younger generations who have these like, attachments to these movies that we were all like, oh, well, that's just a remake of blah, 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 or that's just but for them, it was the first time that they had seen a movie like that, or they'd
Space
seen
Jam.
that.
Are you talking about Space Jam?
I'm talking about mostly about the movie Space Jam. Yes.
There's two things that are cultural markers for me. In movies, it's Space Jam, and in music, it's Blink 182. Like, I've been hearing like Blink 182.
Blink 182 might be the one thing people going, this is amazing. They made these like really short, catchy punk style songs. Like, I think they invented a new genre of music. Like, I'm not.
It's just amazing though, like how many people of that millennial and younger, like Blink 182, I just missed it. I missed the cultural zeitgeist around them being the biggest band in the world, or at least from what I can tell, reading things online and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but
were
like
they bigger at Triple J? I don't remember them being huge at Triple J.
No, they were big, but they were that classic. One of those things that were big on Triple J, but also big on like Triple M at exactly the same
Crossover.
time. You know how occasionally, like Green Day were a bit the same though, and Green Day were a huge band as well. Like, I mean, stadium huge band. There was that sort of pop punk thing.
Offspring, Green Day, Blink 182, and then below that, like your Sum 41s, I can't think of any others.
Alien Ant Farm.
And it's funny too, because there's a bunch of Aussie bands like that as well that sort of came up that seem to do exclusively like the Warped Tour and stuff like that. I've got a mate who's a filmmaker, and he sort of cut his teeth just on the Warped Tours, and he knows all these pop punk bands that are Americans, but like a lot of Australian ones, and he'll play them to me, and I'm like, is this the same band that we just listened to before? And he's like, no, that's a new band. This band's called blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, all right. So it's just these like 3-minute songs played really fast with really good harmonies.
So the Warped Tour, what year would you like to
go to the Warped Tour?
Warped Tour Australia. I'll give you some years you could have gone. Look at this. This is great. Images for Warped Tour Australia. We've got some posters here from different years. So do you want to go to, say, 2013? Do you want to go to the Warped Tour?
No, I reckon. Can we go older than that? I think.
You want to go? Yeah, back to.
Yeah, let's go back to when I was last happy, Will, which is the late 90s, early 2000s.
All right, 1998 or 1999, 2002.
99. I feel lucky.
Warped Tour Australia. Okay, here we go. Let's have a look at who was on. So we had. Let's see who played the Warped Tour in. Okay. The headliners on the Warped Tour of 1999. I'm going to give you a little, You can guess. You will have heard of some of these bands, right? So, number one band headliner band on the Warped Tour of 1999.
Pennywise.
Already been mentioned on this podcast.
Offspring. Blink 182. Green Day.
Blink 182.
I picked the right year then.
Well done. Now, here's some so none of the other bands that I recognise here. So I don't recognise Agnostic Front.
Okay.
Bucko 9.
There's some dude with a pocket chain right now who's fucking yelling at his
H2O.
phone.
Don't remember any of these bands, right?
Just ripped off his ball-bearing necklace and thrown it across the room.
I mean, I can't recognise any of those.
Can hardly even spike his hair up into points, Will. He's so mad.
Yeah, okay. So
what about the Australian bands? Would I have a better crack at naming?
Yeah, I'm going to try to find out if I can find like an image. But there are some other bands on here that you will recognise, but they are not necessarily 99. Bands that you would have necessarily thought would be.
Did they do any stray out of that sort of pop punk or straight punk milieu?
Yes.
They do. So there's hip hop and stuff?
Yes.
Oh okay. Yeah. Who would do a Warped Tour in 1999? Who was hot?
Yeah. There's okay. So I found the good news is I found like a poster that I can barely read, but also has like more detail than the one that I was looking at before, which is good. So Blink 182, we've already said. Now let's go with a couple of like this is. So we need some hip hop. We've got some hip hop on here. You will know these hip hop acts. So one of them is like a really good, like well-known hip hop act.
Cypress Hill.
Well done. Congratulations. One is an act that you wouldn't really consider as a Warped Tour style hip hop act anymore. No, kind of in that vibe, became more a pop
Tribe Called Quest.
act. No, became more a pop
Black Eyed
act.
Peas.
Black Eyed Peas, correct. And then there was a solo artist, hip hop artist, solo artist.
East Coast or West Coast?
Was I'm going to say, actually, you know what? Can't say. I would have said, you know what? I actually, because I became an actor. I'll give you that clue.
Ludacris?
Not Ludacris, but no. The reason that I'm confused about whether he was
Coolio,
which coast he was from, is because I kind of think that he was West Coast, but his acting roles are mostly East Coast acting roles.
Ice-T?
Ice-T.
Fucking hell, Ice-T was doing the Warped Tour in 99.
Uh-huh.
Just as Ice-T,
as
not
Ice-T.
as Body Count. Yeah, right.
Ice-T. And on this poster, I can make out some Australian bands. Oh, sorry, the headliner was also Pennywise. We didn't mention.
I said Pennywise first up.
You
didn't
did.
I?
Okay, well there you go. That you said Pennywise. Suicidal Tendencies were on. Oh, a band that has one really, really famous song for people who. Only know this.
Shipping Up to Boston.
Yeah, it's Dropkick Murphys. Well done. Correct. Correct answer. Now. There is two really identifiable Australian bands that are on this lineup.
28 Days.
I don't think 28 Days are on. I can't see them on the poster. Doesn't mean they're not there.
What happened?
But
1200 Techniques? No,
we're talking
99.
Two bands that are still, I think, probably are still bands. I'm going to say. I know at least one of them is still a band, and the other one every now and again is still a band. Actually, I've got another one here as well. So three of them that is still occasionally do gigs.
Spiderbait?
No, not Spiderbait.
Who's that one that the guy from Triple J was in, the Doctor?
Yep, correct. Friends or Rom. Friends or Rom is one of the bands. You are absolutely correct. Two more Australian bands.
Of the same sort of like vintage?
One of them is the same era. They were both huge bands at the time. One of them is still a pretty big band, honestly. Still plays pretty big gigs at the very least. Great live band.
Magic Dirt? No,
bigger
than
think
Magic Dirt.
I think actually has been on tour recently with Magic Dirt though, so that is not a bad
Taxi Ride.
Yes, not Taxi Ride.
Wawani.
No.
I'm trying to think of that warped. who were the bands?
Yeah. No, I mean you're not a million miles away from where you need to be, but you just haven't quite got there yet. So,
give me a hint with the name. How many words?
They're a three-piece. That's not. That's
Sharp, of course. Scratch my back. Everyone was rocking out to Warped 99 to scratch my back. Three-piece, Living End.
The Living End, correct answer.
Great band.
And one more. So very famous band at the time. I think still do some gigs. We're a big Triple J, but also Triple M band. Had a bit of a crossover.
Okay.
One name.
Interesting. One name.
Oh,
okay. So that's hard. See, that should be a really good clue because very few bands get that triple. Powderfinger.
No.
Triple J, Triple. It's a bit early for Powderfinger, isn't it? Maybe.
I mean, not too early, but I don't think they're kind of this one's a bit heavier. No, good guess, but no.
Shit. They seem like a total Warped Tour act.
Yeah, but not Regurgitator, no. Frontman.
How many in the band?
Look.
3 or 4?
I mean, 3 or 4. Yeah, that's right. I think the lead, they might have been from up your part of the world originally.
Tell me, the Whitlams? No, they're not playing Warped.
Okay, I'll give you a clue.
Body Jar.
How do I give you a clue?
Pacifier.
I mean, these are all good guesses that you're coming up with. I love every one of them, but you're missing one of them. If you were happy, you opened up your drawer at home
Yeah.
because you wanted to like stir your tea and you were happy to find something to be able to stir your tea. Grinspoon.
Grinspoon,
That
you're
was
right.
two.
They are based
Yep.
from up around here.
Yeah, so
well done.
Grinspoon were involved. And I've found one more international band that was on this
Okay.
lineup that I think you'll be.
So Blink-182 are headliners.
Yeah.
Pennywise. 'Cause
Pennywise.
I had a lot of
three-
mates who were like surface skaters at this time, and they would always rant about Pennywise. Is it? Who are the guys who did? It's Bad Religion.
Oh, no. It's
No,
not
but
Bad
that's
Religion.
They should be
No.
playing Warped, right?
I mean, these are all great. by the way.
21st century digital. Oh boy, it's so.
I mean,
Warped.
this is one of those bands that I think people would have like been mad that were on this lineup, or at least that's.
Oh
like, yeah.
yes, is it Limp Bizkit?
No, not Limp Bizkit, but like no.
Oh, mad because they were like, they're not warped enough.
Yeah, I think they're not warped enough, is what I would say.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Nora Jones.
I mean, I don't know if people would have been mad, but that is the impression that I would get that they would be mad.
American
Yes.
and mad because they don't fit the warped.
I gave you a
aesthetic.
very good clue just a second ago.
Oh, what did you say? I missed it.
Yeah, I know you did. Otherwise, you would have just immediately said. They repeat one of the words in their name. It's a 4-word name, and it
Okay.
repeats. One of the words is repeated.
Okay, Tony. They might be giants. I don't know. Just tell me.
The mighty, mighty Boss Tones.
Oh, they totally fit warped.
Do they?
Yeah. Never had to knock on wood.
Yeah. That's do you know what that song's called?
Yes, it's called
Yeah.
Feeling That I Get.
No, the impression that I
The
get, which
impression,
was
that's
literally what I said to you in my
All
clue.
right. Oh, bugger. All right, that is TOFOP for this
That
week.
was TOFOP. That was a real TOFOP. The fuck did we talk about in this
I don't
episode?
know. I
That
honestly-
went everywhere. Like stags, cucks, AI, football,
Melbourne.
the
What
Warp Tour.
What like a Wonder
Back
Years
fat.
nostalgic look
Like,
back at our
oh my
youth.
God, this was like a real journey
Smorgasbord.
of what happened.
I don't know. But it was enjoyable, and I hope
Yes.
people listening enjoyed it
We're
too.
doing live shows, by the way, if you like TOFOP. We're doing live shows in Sydney and Melbourne.
Melbourne sold out.
Melbourne is sold out. You cannot get a ticket.
Yeah, and Sydney is very close to selling out. So, look, we are recording this a couple of weeks in advance.
Get in fast for Sydney. I mean,
yeah, get in
is it going to
fast.
sell out well enough that we could add a second show, or is it just not? No,
Don't think so.
Not necessarily. Okay.
Not necessarily. No. But if we do add a second show, you guys will be the first to know about it. But I reckon if you desperately want to go to the Sydney show, you need to get in quick.
Or you may have already had to have got in.
All got in. That's the problem with recording 2 weeks in advance. You just did a run of shows, didn't you, at the Comedy Store?
I did, and also I've got some in December and January. They are on sale, and I've added some new shows in Newcastle because they all sold out. So I've added some new shows which are now on sale in Newcastle, and my tour, Will Legitimate, is about to go on sale in some places as well. So just check out comedy.com.au. Question Everything is back on the TV, ABC iView, if you want to check that out. My last year's special Biological is still up there on ABC iView for free as well. And my book, I Am Not Fine, Thanks, is still, it's been out a year now. We got the figures through the other day. It turns out it sold actually really, really well, which is great. Thank you to everyone who bought it. But keep buying it. If you have not bought a copy, it is still available.
All I kept thinking while you're talking is we did 10 to 15 minutes on back fat.
I know, and still got to the Warp Tour. AI.
What an
It was
episode.
a real, I mean, this was a real roller coaster, this episode.
Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/TOFOP, and we'll be back again next week. I'm Charlie Clausen.
Well,